reason you found this video, I did a live training in Bali all about how to turn your skills, your knowledge and your expertise into a freedom first business. If you're looking to create more freedom in your business, or if you're actually just starting out, then this is for you. To get the most out of this, I want you to act like you've invested into this training, because when sometimes something's for free, like on YouTube, you may not take it as seriously. So I want you to act right now. This is your line in the sand moment. You're going to create more freedom and you're actually going to take action after watching this training. So go grab a notebook, be in a quiet room, and this training can be the training that changes your life. I'll see you on there.
We're live.
All right, we're live. Woo! Here we are. Amazing. Woo! It's actually, well, firstly, obviously, like, grateful for all of you coming here tonight, investing your time, investing your energy to come down here. It's quite nostalgic because I was stood here about 2 years ago and I did a talk all about sales. And I will integrate a bit of sales into this, but I've actually gone on a bit of a journey, and I'm going to be sharing a question that I asked myself a few months ago, which completely changed the direction of my life moving forward. And that question is going to relate to the fact that it's a very cool moment going from doing it about sales to now doing it all about having a freedom first business. So essentially the masterclass I'm doing today is all about being an under-monetized expert. And I'm going to be diving into how to build and grow a freedom first business so you can be anywhere around the world and you can be making an impact and making a profitable business from doing what you. So before we go into it, a bit of a quick show of hands, because I said about the title being the under-monetized expert. And I'll put my hand straight up and say, I'm an under-monetized expert. And I think all of us can have that experience throughout life, because ultimately we all want to grow. So quick show of hands, who feels like they're more capable of making more impact in this world? More income? More freedom? Yeah, freedom lifestyle. More fulfillment? And who feels they're leaving money on the table? We can all resonate with that, right? By the end of this masterclass, you're going to discover why most experts never reach their full potential, why freedom should come before the business, how to identify the value you're currently actually overlooking now and start integrating that into your life and business, and an 8-step framework that I use for myself to grow my business, but I also do that with my clients as well. I'm going to be diving into each step today. But I want this right now, because one of these things, right? People come to these talks, they come to these trainings, they get a bit of energy, they get a bit of motivation, and then they leave, and then nothing changes. Like no action gets taken. You get that energy, and then nothing actually changes. So I want this to be, for all of you in here tonight and watching this on replay, I want this to be your line in the sand moment, that you're not just going to attend this and just get a bit of motivation, but you're actually going to take action. And here's the thing, I know obviously a lot of you in here personally, and I know everyone's on different parts of their journey. So there may be some parts of this training that may not fully resonate with you because you're further ahead. However, even if there's just one thing from this training that you implement and take action on after this training, like that's what this line in the sand moment's all about. That's what's going to help you. If I go back here, that's what's going to help you have more impact, more income, more freedom, more fulfillment, is by actually implementing it, taking the action, rather than just always consuming information. So I know some of you know me already, but my journey, my past, I wasn't free at all growing up. I wasn't mentally free. I had no confidence growing up. I was extremely insecure throughout school. The last thing I thought I'd be doing was this right now, traveling the world, doing talks, podcasting. That's the last thing that little younger version of me thought that he would be doing. But I went on a bit of a crazy journey. And when I left school, I'm sure we can all probably resonate with the fact that in terms of choices when we left school, in my mind I was like, oh, well, I either got to go to uni or I got to get a job. And you get a graduate, no, not even a graduate job, just get like a full-time job. And for me, I wanted to dodge actually working, because I've seen a lot of people around me getting jobs and I was like, that isn't for me. So that was the reason why I got myself in 50 grand worth of debt at 18 years old, which is actually wild when you think about it, isn't it? 50 grand of debt at 18, making a decision like that. And later to find out that that debt has actually got interest on it. So every year that debt's actually increasing every single year. I did 3 years at Plymouth University studying business, and I was learning business from someone that didn't even run a business. That makes literally no sense, right? He was an employee, didn't have a business, and he's teaching us how to build a business. They're just teaching us to be employees. So it was 3 years, 50 grand that I quote unquote technically invested, yet I learnt nothing. So in terms of an ROI of that was awful, right? Yeah, it's funny how when, you know, your parents or family or friends, they'll think you're crazy for investing a few £1,000s into a mentor, but then they'll push you to go to university. Very grateful for university, and it's one of them things that I could, you know, fast forward now. I'll be like, if I was to do my time again, I probably wouldn't have recommended going to university. I would have just went straight into traveling the world. However, I'm very grateful for that experience because it gave me a lot of summers to do what I wanted. So all my friends at uni were like going back to their hometown, getting a job during summer, whereas I got an opportunity to go on a TV show called Ibiza Weekender. This was me at 18. Oh, shit. Ibiza Weekender when I was 18.
You lost a lot of weight. We all
Well, that's not me. And that opportunity, like obviously going back from being that person that had no confidence to then like, you know, literally 10 years on, eight years later, getting filmed in Ibiza by ITV. Like it was a crazy transition, but it opened my eyes up, and it opened my eyes up because I was seeing the people that were, if anyone's watched the show before, you basically go around with reps in Ibiza. All the reps, that was their job. They basically got paid to party and go have fun. And they all worked, they didn't work in Ibiza, they all worked in Magaluf, in a place called in Mallorca. And when I was at uni, when I got back, I was like, I can either go back to Clevedon in the summer, or I could go to Magaluf. So I did that at 19 years old. I went and booked a one-way flight to Maga, and it completely transformed my life. I became a rep, and I was selling boat parties, pool parties, bar crawls. And it was my first experience of entrepreneurship, because here's the thing. Our whole life we're programmed to think that you need to get a salary. You need to be getting paid per hour, like £10 an hour, £20 an hour, etc., right? Whereas I was 19 in Maga, I was on the streets with a ticket book, and basically like you got to just go out and sell. You got to close deals. You got to get people on boat parties and bar events, and we'd get commission. So every deal we closed, we make money. My first day, I was grafting in the sun all day, 8 hours, made nothing. And it's a bit like in business, right? Your first like graft, your first few months, etc. You might not be getting anywhere. You might be making nothing, but you're putting so much time into it. And the majority of people can't get their head around, how can you put time into something and not get paid for it? But here's the thing, when you do things like sales, entrepreneurship, business, the more you put into it, the more your skills grow. And the more your skills and knowledge grows, the more money you can make, the more impact you can make. So when I left university, was I going to get a graduate job? Not a chance. So I made a decision, I traveled instead. I lived in India, I was living in Thailand, going to ski festivals. And for me, I finally felt extremely free when I left. I felt like uni was a bit of a prison, to be honest. And I was high off life. But then that all come crashing down. And I'm sure we all experienced different experiences during national lockdown. But during national lockdown, I ended up going from traveling the world to being back at my nan's house. I had no money, I had no job, and I couldn't go back to Mallorca for the summer. And I said about, we were speaking about this the other day with someone, I can't remember, about how it used to be a midlife crisis, but now I think a lot of people are getting like more like quarterly crisis. And I experienced that during lockdown. I was like 21 years old thinking, what is going on with my life? So I ended up getting a job packing boxes at Amazon in the fulfillment center because I needed to earn some money. And that was the most like humbling experience of my life, but it gave me so much perspective because everyone around me thought that what they were earning was like really good money, whereas I've just gone from earning really good money, you know, doing sales in the sun, to now I was seeing no daylight. I was waking up at 6 a.m., getting in the warehouse at 7, I was leaving at like 8 at night, and I was just only seeing dark. And I was like, this really isn't the life for me. So I ended up booking a one-way flight ticket to Bali after 8 weeks. And that then got cancelled because of national lockdown. So I was back to square one, back in England. I had no job again. So I was like, oh, what am I going to do now? I can't go travel. I'm stuck. So I ended up getting into high ticket sales. And I know obviously remote sales is a massive thing now online, everyone's getting into. That wasn't really a thing when I was doing it. And I got a role, it was a commission only in the solar panel industry. And my first month I made £7,000 in commission and I was buzzing, I was high off life. But then the reality of living in England for 2 years really started to wear me down. As you can see there, I started to, obviously, I know I was big in that thing earlier as well, but I started getting chubbier. I wasn't as healthy. I was literally on the road all day eating meal deals because I didn't have time to cook any healthy food. And I was like, there must be a better way. And this was when I had an epiphany that I wanted to start a podcast. I read a book, a guy called Daniel Priestley, all about key person of influence. And I rang up actually Sam Church, who's in here today, and Jacob, and I was like, let's start a podcast. And the three of us were going to start a podcast called Freedom Lifestyle. And Sam went down a different route, but he helped us create the name, which I'm so grateful for. And we started the podcast called Freedom Lifestyle, and we started interviewing successful entrepreneurs. We went from people that were like more starting out to interviewing someone called Spencer Lodge worth 100 million. And like having conversations with people on these different levels starts making you think a lot differently. So this is actually a full circle moment of being here at Cafe Coach. So the owner of the Coaching Masters, well, one of the CEOs is called Liam James Collins. And it was actually while I was in Amazon listening to a podcast, I was listening to, there's a coach called Fraser Brooks, and he was interviewing Liam on his podcast. I listened to it whilst I was packing boxes, and it really inspired me. And I messaged him on Instagram that day saying, I've really connected with the podcast you're on, and he messaged me back. Fast forward a year, starting the podcast, I sent him a voice note a year later and saying, basically position him to come on the podcast. And he said yes. And I ended up going down to London to interview him. And that year was the year that their business got valued at 25 million. And I ended up interviewing him. And this conversation sort of changed everything for me because he really made me think differently. Because at the time, I was charging £20 a month for an online membership. I had my podcast, I had no sales role anymore, and I was charging £20 a month. I wasn't really making much money. And then when I met Liam and interviewed him, he was like, if you want to grow and scale an online business, like you need to charge more. Like you need to do high ticket. And he was opening up free one-to-one spots to work with him, but it was $20,000. And for me, I was there like, I haven't got $20,000 sitting around. But you know when you just got like a feeling, a gut feeling that you're like, I've got to do something. Something needs to change. And I asked myself this, and this is something for all of you to take away as well. When you make decisions, make the decision as if you're your future version of you. So like if you want to become a multi-millionaire, as an example, then make decisions like you already are one. So a multi-millionaire, like $20,000 isn't a lot to them. Whereas to me and Jacob at the time, we didn't have that. That was everything to us. But we made a commitment and we ended up making it work and we made that investment. But when I did my first launch after that, I made £16,500 in 3 days. Absolutely buzzing. But then what happened was my business went 3 months with no sales. I had no new deals. My business partner, Jacob, who I ran it with, he ended up walking away. This was after we did the launch. And the pressure started getting to me and the overwhelm started getting to me. I was like, I just don't know how to make this work. I don't know how to build this business. And that was when I ended up getting connected with Jordan, who come to me to essentially, he had a sales agency. So he'd come into my business, build a sales team, train them, and he'd run it for me. And within a few weeks, we just really connected. So we ended up joining forces together and we started building our own sales agency, essentially. And I did that for the last 18 months. But for anyone who knows what happened with myself, me and Ellie got an opportunity by actually the Coaching Masters, which is really cool because Cafe Coach has been running for a few years now, and they wanted to open one in Mexico, Tulum. And Lewis, the CEO, rang me up saying that they wanted me and Ellie to go to Mexico and build a community for them over there. And of course, we were like all in, and we got a flight out there, started building Coachlam, which was like the equivalent of this over there. Interviewing getting like guest speakers like this right now, talking to some amazing people there. And the thing is, I was waking up every day, I was in paradise, I was loving life, but I felt lost. My energy was off. I don't know if you've ever experienced this before, where you just can't work out what's going on. And I just wasn't fully happy. And Ellie kept saying to me, like, what's going on? Like, what's the matter here? Like, you're in Mexico, like, your business is going well. Like, I built it to 6 figures, my business, sales agency, I had good clients. But something was just off. And then I had a call in to bring back the Freedom Lifestyle podcast, which is actually getting launched next week. And obviously we interviewed you, Simon, the other day. Shout out Simon. And we just started interviewing people over in Mexico. And then, you know, when you're just having a conversation with someone and they just start making you think differently. And I started thinking, oh, does this align with me anymore? Sales Growth Club, building a sales agency, managing sales teams, training sales teams, building somebody else's brand rather than my own brand. Like, these things all started going through my mind. And it wasn't until we had a flight back to London after 6 months living in Mexico. I was about to lock in, as we say, in London. And I got this message from my old business partner, Jordan, saying perhaps spend some time thinking about whether or not this business is what you want. So evidently, my energy being off, he could tell that I wasn't all in anymore. And he sent me that message while I was at the airport before flying back to England. And I was sat on the flight, no thoughts, no distractions, no notifications. And I started asking myself the questions that I'm going to be sharing with you guys in a minute. And I was like, shit. So I decided to then walk away from a 6-figure business that I put 18 months of time and energy into. And then I started asking myself, was this the right choice? You know, sometimes you make a decision and you start overthinking. You're like, shit, have I made the right decision? What have I done? Am I an idiot for doing this? And I was like back and forth. I said to Ellie, should I go back? And then I started feeling free again. I finally started waking up with some excitement, with some happiness. And that's when Freedom First was born. And this was the decision and the moment that I started asking myself, and I want you to start thinking about this for yourself, right? What life do I want to create? Like, what life do I want? Not what other people want, not what your family want, not your friends, not social media. Like, what do you actually want? And it was the first time in a long time where I was a free man to just think myself. And that was when I created Freedom First, which is the principles that I'll be sharing today, and then how to build a business from there. But before I do that, I want to do a quick little energy hack before I dive into this, because here's the thing. Dependent on what energy you're on, this is something I do on a day-to-day basis. Whether I'm doing, say if I'm doing a coaching call, if I'm doing a talk, if I'm going to meet people, if I'm even going to meet family, I ask myself on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being I'm in an extremely low energy, or 10 being I feel high off life. I ask myself that consistently on a day-to-day basis to just check in with myself. Even sat here watching a training, because I know how it can get. You're sat down, it can get a bit lethargic when you're at a training, or if you're watching this at home as an example, you may not be in your highest frequency. If you're not in that energy, then you won't get as much out of this talk as you would if you're in a higher frequency. So I want to do something with this talk for 10 seconds. So if everyone stands up, it's like being back at school again, isn't it? So something I do, if literally, you know, you're back-to-back, you're on back-to-back calls, you haven't got that much time, something you can do with 10 seconds is literally just clap like a maniac as loud as you can for 10 seconds, and I promise you, you will feel more energy than you do now. So let's all do it together. Let's go. Come on! Freedom lifestyle! Yeah! There we go. There we go. Yeah? How easy was that? It was pretty easy, wasn't it? Yeah. Everyone feel more energized? Yeah. Yeah? It was a clap. You can all sit down.
Got some good content now.
Huh? Yeah. Yeah, I just wanted that for the content, to be honest. But no, like, state, right? Like, some of you may have already, like, because you're sat down, like, you're not in that posture, you're not stood up. It's different for me. I'm up here talking, I'm like stood up. It's a different energy. So it's like, if you're sat down on calls back to back, you don't realize that your energy you're like a battery. It will slowly start decreasing. So if you're on like 8 calls back to back, the 8th call, you're probably on a way different energy to what you might be on, especially if you, let's say you had 8 not great calls. If you're in sales, as an example, you just start going flatter and flatter and flatter. So doing things like monitoring your energy on a day-to-day basis is, I guess, it's a level of freedom, right? Because you're going to feel so much happier and energized, and you're going to get more out of your day. So let's dive into this. So this is a framework that I take my clients through and that I did myself that I'm going to be diving into today. And actually, the most important one is the first one here, is the alignment. And this is the biggest realization of when I got on that flight of how important this it really is. So the 8 steps, you got alignment, you got identity and mindset, your niche clarity, market research, your offer creation, how to grow your audience, sales, and then your delivery. And ultimately, these are like the 8 steps that I use to grow my online business, my high ticket offer. So let's dive into alignment. So I put here a 9-hour flight can change everything. And actually, that's something to share for all of you. Obviously, we're in Bali. I know most of us here are in the UK. It's a long old flight. And sometimes you can be like, oh, negative, oh, I've got a long flight, etc. But now, like me and Ellie, like we're on the flight, we're journaling, we're thinking about life, we're writing out like what life that we want to create, and we're turning that experience of sometimes can be really like long to actually, no, this is a time for you to actually have no distractions, because we're constantly on our phones, notifications, etc. So flights can actually be life-changing, evidently. And this was when I really realized the power of how important alignment is. And I think this isn't something that's actually spoken about much, because you go on social media, you go on TikTok, and it's like, do this business model to earn 10 grand, do this business model to earn 10 grand, do this one to earn 10 grand. That's all it is now. It's just about the money. That's all people really talk about online now. But actually it's funny, obviously all of us out here, a lot of us are playing paddle out here, and there was 11 of us today, and I think pretty much all 11 of us that were there today are in different businesses. So like, it just shows how much abundance there is of opportunity, of how much money there is, and how many different opportunities there are. So that actually means that you don't have to like stress about, oh shit, someone's making that money in this business, I should go and do this business. Because I've been guilty of this, shiny object syndrome. I'm sure, maybe put your hands up if you've ever experienced shiny object syndrome before, right? Very, very common. But shiny object syndrome won't happen when you focus on this, when you focus on your alignment. So these are the questions that I started asking myself when I was on the plane. And I'm actually going to get you guys in a minute as an exercise to speak to a pair and answer these questions together. So if you could earn money doing anything, what would you actually do? If you could earn money in any way, what would you do? So for me, I was like, well, I'd podcast. I podcast. I don't get paid to podcast. I do it for free, and I love it. So even though I don't earn money from it yet, and I kind of do in a way because it helps me get clients, but regardless, I don't get paid for the podcast, but I love it. And then the other one for me was coaching. So I was like, but it wasn't building an agency. It wasn't managing sales teams. It wasn't being on stupid, pointless meetings every day. And that was when I had the realization of like, oh wow, I'm only doing this for money. If it wasn't for money, I wouldn't actually be doing this. If you didn't get paid for the role you do now or the business you run, would you still do it? And yes, there are businesses and stuff that obviously we all want more money, right? It's a big part of our life, but how are you earning the money? Is it actually making you happy? Because when you get to when we all get to our end of life, are we going to look back on the money that we've earned, or are we going to look back on the life that we've lived, on the memories that we've created, on how happy we've been, on the relationships that we've built, on how healthy that we've actually been? Or are we just going to be focused on the money that we've made? What do you want to be known for when you're no longer here? Now, this is quite a deep question, and I really started thinking, do I want to be known for just sales? And for me, it was no. For other people, it may be. For me, it was freedom. That's what I wanted to be talking about. And that's why I was saying earlier how it's full circle, how 2 years ago, I did a talk here all about sales. And I still love sales, it's part of my journey, but now I'm talking about freedom. And it was because I've found my alignment now, and I'm all in on it. And once you find that and you go all in on it, that's when you're going to create an amazing life and amazing opportunities. If you were invited onto a podcast, or if you were to do a talk at Cafe Coach, what would you want to do the talk on? Like, what would you want to do the talk about if you were the one doing it? You know the answers deep down. Sometimes you just have to be asked the right questions and go deep. So what I want to do, I'm going to put 2 5-minute timers on. I want everyone to like pair up with someone they don't really know that well and speak to, and do 5 minutes each and just answer some of these questions to each other. And number one, this might give you a breakthrough that maybe that you could go down a different path. Or number two, you might realize, oh wow, I am fully aligned, and it just gives you even more clarity. Amazing, there we are. So everyone was in the flow. Everyone's in the flow big time. So apologies, obviously I would talk about this all night. I know it's I know some of you were having, especially you two, some deep conversations, which is cool. These questions, like 5 minutes I know is not enough time. So it's like, I could either send you all this presentation, or you can take a photo just so you've got the questions. And I strongly recommend, like, put some chilled music on, get a notebook, and like really go deep on these questions, because it's going to give you so many answers and so much clarity. Whether you're on the right, you might already be on the right path, which is amazing, and it just gives you more clarity that you're on the right path. Or it might start thinking, oh, okay, cool, how can I pivot? How can I change? Is there a new direction that's going to light me up even more, make me more excited? Going back to the starting point about making a more impact, having more fun, growing more money. Like, these questions will be able to help you do that. Are we flowing, Ellie?
Flowing.
Yes, amazing. Okay, cool. So now you've got like the alignment. Now it's like, okay, and I know I said earlier about people online saying like, earn this business model and earn this money and earn this money. But let's be real, we're in the world where money is important, right? The more money that you can create, the better life you can create for yourself, for your family, for your friends, for the world. If you're thinking that big, if you want to make a massive impact in this world, obviously Simon, a lot of charity work, like, when you've got more money, you're able to do more of that, right? So money is really, really important. So I want to do an exercise now. If you're below £10,000 per month and your goal is to get to £10,000 per month, then have that lifestyle of you earning £10,000 a month. Have that lifestyle in your mind. But let's say you're above that and you want to go for 100,000, then go for 10x it. Grant Cardone, 10x. Imagine your life as if you were earning £100,000. If anyone's earning £100,000 a month in here, then make it $1 million a month, whatever. But the reason I say that is because it's the identity, the mindset, and the lifestyle of who's earning, the future version of you who's earning, say, £10,000 a month or £100,000 per month. Remember I said earlier, when I made that $20,000 investment into a mentor, the only reason I did that was because I'm so far ahead into the future that I know what I'm going to create, that even though it was a risk, because I'm thinking so far ahead, I make decisions like the future version of myself rather than making decisions of me right now in this present moment. And when you start doing that and acting like that person or acting like this person, that's when you're going to then create it and see it in your reality. So I want us all to do a little exercise together. So if everyone can put their feet on the floor, put your hands on your knees. So have them facing up. So if you have them facing down, it's like more like grounding. But when you have them facing up, it's more like abundance. It's more receiving rather than being grounded. So have them facing up, and I just want everyone to close down their eyes, and you can all relax. We've got some 888 abundance frequencies on. And I want everyone to take a breath in through their nose and hold it at the top. And breathe out through the mouth or the nose. And again, I want everyone to breathe through the nose and hold it at the top. And breathe out through the nose or mouth. And again, breathe through the nose. Hold at the top. And breathe out through the mouth. And now you're all relaxed and you're calm. I want you to imagine the life of you living when you're making consistently £10,000 per month. If you've already done it, imagine £100,000 every single month going into your bank account. I want you to go to your happy place. Now you're living it. You can celebrate. Woo! You're living your freedom lifestyle. I want you to imagine that you're impacting lives. You're winning. You're able to be anywhere in the world. If you can see it, I want you to increase the color of what you can see. If you can't see anything at all, I want you to feel the emotions of seeing the money in your bank account. And now you're there. I want you to imagine you're looking at yourself in the mirror. You're looking at yourself in the mirror. You're the healthiest version of yourself. You're a winner. You're looking at yourself with so much confidence because you've already achieved your dream life. You're already living your freedom lifestyle. Celebrate. And now I want you to breathe through your nose. Hold it at the top. Feel the emotions, the feelings, the gratitude that you've already achieved it. You no longer need to stress. You no longer need to be overwhelmed because it's already done. And breathe out through your mouth. And then all open your eyes and come back into the room. Obviously, people would have experienced different feelings, emotions, experiences. But regardless, that feeling or whatever you saw then or felt, like it probably felt good, looked good, right? You can do that whenever you want. You could do that daily. You could do that if you have a bit of a down day or a challenge, like tap back into the future version of you. Like remember, me and Ellie say it to each other. We go, we got to remember who the fuck we are. That's what we say to each other. If we ever have a bit of a down day, we're like, we've got to remember who you are and what you're here to achieve. And it's the identity. It's the identity of that person. Because if you're not in the identity of that person, you just end up self-sabotaging. You're not going to be able to create it. You might be meeting the right people, but because you're not in the right identity, nothing's going to come from it. It's funny, have you ever experienced it before? You've got a new car, and then next minute you see that car everywhere, It's because it's in your conscious mind. It was always there, but now it's in your reality. You now see it more. So the more you do visualizations and exercises, like going into your dream life and your future version, you're going to start seeing, like let's say you had a dream car as an example, you're going to start seeing that car around a lot more. And that's the power of the identity work. And then I got a question for all of you to reflect on. You can do this when you go home. Write down what the habits are and how does that future version of you, like how do they make decisions? What do they do on a day-to-day basis? How are they showing up? How do they handle if they get rejected or if they get challenges? Like how do they handle it? Write that down, get clear on that person, the identity of that person, and then start being that person now. And when you become that person now, that's when you're going to end up what you just seen or felt then, you're going to be living it. So now you are in alignment, because what's the point of building a house or an empire with the wrong foundations? So that's why step number 1 is alignment. Step number 2 is the identity and the mindset of someone that can actually achieve what you want to achieve. Step number 3, obviously we're in this room today, we're talking about your skills, your knowledge and expertise and turn it into a business, right? So a lot of the time that's going to be a high ticket offer online, right? So step number 3 is all about your niche clarity. And this is one of the biggest challenges and struggles that I've gone on in my own journey, but also I know so many people struggle with this. It's who should I work with is always the question. Who should I work with? My question to you is, who do you want to work with? Like imagine you had, like in this room here, like everyone in here, like I connect with all of you. Like imagine your clients are people that you just love, like you want to be with, you want to go out for dinner with, you want to go and play paddle with. Like imagine that's your clients as an example. So a question I want to ask you is, what tribe are you building? What tribe do you want to build? Because this is going to start getting you thinking differently of, who do I want to be hanging around with more? Like obviously some of us in here are part of Creator Club with Louis Armstrong. Like obviously a few of you are in here. I instantly connect with you because you're in that community. We're just like-minded. Like everyone I've met from there, I'm like, you're just like instantly connected. So it just shows that he's created something where he's building his tribe of people, right? And he's just doing that by being himself. He is the niche, right? So one thing I wanted to share today is if you're struggling on your niche, to keep it really simple, is become the niche. You are the niche. You are your best client that you can be. Like coach yourself. Like sometimes sometimes I'll be on a coaching call and I'll give some, I'm sure people that coach clients can resonate with this. You share some perspective with them, and then you reflect back and go, yeah, I need to implement that. I know, yeah, I need to. So now I have this process. When I'm coaching my clients, I'm coaching myself, and it's so powerful because you're almost brainstorming with them, and it's like, right, cool. Now I'm going to implement what I shared with them. Obviously, a lot of it's what I do already, but sometimes I'm like, wow, that was an amazing idea. Right, I need to implement it now. So when you become the niche and you're working with clients on a similar journey, I'll just give an example. And this is where I had some disconnect with sales. So I used to train people in sales. I used to obviously be in high ticket sales, like I shared earlier, and I was training people in high ticket sales and getting sales roles. But I was no longer a sales rep anymore. I wasn't actually doing sales myself anymore. Yes, I could help people. Yes, I could teach them, but I wasn't doing that anymore. So I felt disconnected. And like the older I was getting, and the more disconnected I was getting from sales coaching. I still train people in sales, but I do this in a business format now, rather than actually just sales reps. And it was a disconnection there. And it's because I wasn't the niche anymore. That was like the old me. Whereas now, my niche is me. I'm growing, and as I grow and build, then I can help people grow and build with me and continue to grow more. So if you're struggling with niche, you are the niche, right? So my question to you, and we could do a little exercise actually for 5 minutes. If you've got a phone or a notebook, 5-minute timer, ask yourself, if you haven't got an offer or anything, just ask, how can you help your younger version of you? I'll just give an example. Magnus, anxiety coach. Magnus, you used to struggle with anxiety, you had a lot of challenges. I'm sure even now there might be some things that maybe crop up. So you're constantly evolving, and you're always learning new things of how to, become the most confident version of yourself, right? So it's like, how can you help that version, right? How can you continue to help the younger version of me who's really anxious, that's scared to public speak, that's scared to go out in public? You just got to help them. So I'll set a timer for 5 minutes. Ask yourself these questions, like how can you help your younger self? What are the biggest challenges that you've gone through and overcome? What were you dreaming about when you were going through that? Like when you were struggling with anxiety, when you were struggling in sales, when you were struggling with your health, like what were you dreaming about? What was your dream life then? You're probably living that now. What transformations have you personally gone through? And then what are the biggest achievements you've had in your life? So I'll set a timer for 5 minutes and just go through the questions. Even just doing that short exercise there, I'm sure that gave you some clarity, even more of actually, I've gone through a lot. As humans, I think we all go through a lot of things. It's like, okay, you can now turn these experiences, these challenges, these setbacks, you can now turn them into a way to help, to make an impact and to make money from. Like how amazing is that? So now when I get challenges or if I get setbacks, I celebrate. I'm happy because I'm like, boom, I'm going to learn from this. I'm going to grow. And then as I grow and learn more, I can share more. So now you've got clarity on who you can help. It makes life a lot easier because you can just create, imagine you were like a mentor for yourself, for your younger version of you that went through these challenges. Like what content could you create now you know this, which is then going to attract your tribe, because your tribe are going to want what you've now overcome, and that's how you help your younger version of you, right? But it's getting clear on this first before you start making your content, and then it becomes so much easier. Just one thing to share as well. Just because it's your younger version of you doesn't mean, I've worked with a client called Todd. I took him through the 8 steps. He's in his 50s. And after working with him, he did a launch and he did 10K in his first launch from following these 8 steps that I've gone through. He's in his 50s. So just because it's a younger version of you doesn't mean you can't work with people that are older than you as well. Because ultimately everyone's on different parts of their journey. Age is just a number, right? So now this is actually, I want to share my biggest lesson that I had from investing $20,000 into Liam. And I'm so grateful for this experience because of especially this. So I want to share this with you all. And it's actually really basic and obvious, like market research. Like it's so obvious, but it's actually so overlooked in the business world when you have your own business. And I'll give some context. When I launched my first like online offer, I did no research. I just assumed. I assumed I knew what people wanted. I assumed what people needed. I created an offer. I invested $3,000 into a funnel. The funnel was awful. Didn't work. It was shocking. So I actually was minus $3,000 off the back. And then I was going to run ads to this, even though I haven't even validated whether the offer was even going to work, because I did no market research. And it wasn't until when I invested into Liam and he got us to go out and do market research, I was like, oh my God, this is so much easier. You literally find out what people want, find out what people need, and you create the solution for them to do that, right? So like just some steps for you to go and do. Create a survey. You can literally use Google Forms for free or Typeform, SurveyMonkey. Collect at least 30 responses. So the first time I did it, I collected 50. And my biggest regret was not continuing to get more research. I wish I just carried on, because it's literally gold. It's like the best data you could ever possibly get, because this will get you a lot, and you'll probably realize that a lot of what they're sharing is like what you've experienced as well, but it's still good to get other people's experiences and views. And then I would strongly recommend offering them something for the research. So you could offer them a coaching call, a strategy call, a book, a live training, a workshop, a walkthrough. So give them something in value in exchange for helping you out with the research. And then once you've got the data, analyze the data. I'd probably recommend doing it with ChatGPT and AI as well. And then you've literally got all your content forever, because you know all their pains, their challenges, like what they actually want to learn, how they want to develop. And you're now able to be that provider and create the right content, the right programs, the right mentorship, the right live trainings, the right books, etc., to then help that person. And the more people you help, the more money you're going to end up making. So now you've got the data, rather than doing what I did and build an offer with no data and just assuming and then making no sales. Now you've actually got data that you can now create an offer from. So you're actually creating an offer from things that people actually genuinely need and want. So just identify the most common challenges and pains from your research, identify the desires, what they want, and then how can you get them from point A to point B? Like, it's actually quite simple when you break it down into simple steps. And essentially the solution for that is your offer. You are essentially it's like in sales, right? Find out where they are, their pains, where they want to go, and then you're the bridge, right? Your offer is the bridge to get them from where they are now to where they want to go. So that's how you build an offer which is actually going to sell and which is actually going to provide a lot of transformations for people. And then I know a lot of you in here may already have your own offers, but mapping out your offer, I'd recommend doing like a minimum of 3 months. A lot of people go wrong and they just do like an hour session with people, or they get like people on a few hours. I'd recommend doing like a minimum like 3 months if you're working with someone like on a mentorship, like long term. But you could do like my favorites are 3 months, 6 months, and 12 months. And then how can you do, like what offers can you have? Obviously you can do one-to-one. You can do group mentoring, so like mastermind sessions. You could do a hybrid, so a mix of them. You could have a program or a course, or you could do in-person events. You could do retreats. You could do immersive days with people. There's so much variety. You just got to work out for you which ones resonate most with you. But I'd recommend always starting with one-to-one to start with. You can charge the most for one-to-one, especially at the start, and you're also going to get amazing transformations. And then when you start getting amazing transformations, and you start realizing you're probably repeating yourself over and over again on these one-to-one calls, if you keep repeating yourself, you could then turn that into a training, a walkthrough. So then you can then start growing and being able to take on more clients, because you don't need to be on one-to-one calls all the time, because they can watch your trainings and your walkthroughs of it. I think Magnus, you mentioned to me the other day, you invested into William Brown, and you mentioned, you've invested high ticket. And before you even got on the first call with him, you watched how many?
75 videos.
75, and how long were each video?
Some of them were as long as 45 minutes.
Wow. So 75 times 30, do the maths. It's a lot. That's a lot before he even had a call with him. So that just shows he's leveraged his time so well, because he's built out assets, so he's not actually needed as much on these calls, because you do end up repeating yourself a lot. And then when it comes to your offer, You can do guarantees. Obviously, like a 14-day money-back guarantee is actually like a legal thing. But you can also do other guarantees. Some people are against it because you can sometimes then get people that aren't committed, and then you're dealing with someone that like are expecting the world, but then they're not putting the action in. So with guarantees, like you've got to be strategic with it. But if you're that confident that if they follow the steps and they're going to get X result, like let's say it's financial, then doing a guarantee that if they don't get X, Y, Z, then you'll work with them for free until you do, from a level of like, actually no, I want to do a service, I want to get them amazing results because they've invested, and when I get them amazing results, I'll get testimonials, case studies. It's literally a win-win. But obviously make sure if you do a guarantee, just there's requirements, like they got to show up to the calls, etc., do the work, do the tasks. Otherwise you're going to end up dealing with people that aren't your right tribe. So now you've got your offer. Now you need to grow your audience for people that are going to then invest into your offer and that you're going to work with. Like I mentioned before, when I launched my first offer, we were going to run ads to it, but I'd strongly recommend, you've got two forms, right? You've got organic and then you've got paid traffic. I'd recommend going with organic first, so doing it for free essentially, free advertisement on social media or in person. You can obviously Bali, there's so much opportunity in Bali, right? When you're meeting people, but also social media. And then the main forms on social media is obviously short form. I find it really cool actually. So I said to Ellie when I was in here, I screenshotted this and my dashboard is 888K in terms of views, and obviously that's the abundance sign. So I was like, there we go, abundance tonight. So you've got short form content, which is obviously the main focus of that is to build some trust, build value and grow your audience of new people. But the key that I think not enough people are focusing on, and this is a big focus for me now, is long form content. Because here's the thing, if your offer is 3,000, 5,000, 10,000, 20, 30, whatever it is, right? If it's high ticket, like on average, it takes around about 7 to 9 hours for someone to watch your content or to get to know you in person or online to trust you, like fully trust you and like become like a fan of yours and what you do and your work. So if you were to just do like Instagram Reels that are like 30 seconds, you're gonna need a lot of them to add up to your 7 to 9 hours. Whereas like YouTube and podcasts, and I do both, you're looking at some podcasts and videos are like 30 minutes, an hour, etc. So then it's like you don't need that many YouTube videos and podcasts for someone to trust you. So now they're way more likely gonna invest into you. I noticed a massive correlation of when I was having calls, when I had my first coaching offer in the sales space was when I had season 1 of my podcast, Freedom Lifestyle. When I was on a call with someone that watched about 10, 15, 20 episodes of my podcast, compared to speaking to someone that hardly knew me, like the difference of that call is crazy. So if you can build as much trust without using your own time through content for free, why not? And now I'm at a point now I wouldn't get on a call with someone unless they've actually like watched like event like trainings or watched YouTube or etc. or my podcast, because I just know there's a lot more work to be done and they won't take it as seriously. I've been on calls before where they think that they're doing me a favor. I'm like, I'm here to try and help you and serve you. But then when they've watched your content and they've gained value, they're actually like grateful to be on a call, So there's a massive difference there. So ultimately, attention is today's best currency. Once you've cracked it organically and you start then obviously getting clients, getting results, then you move into paid traffic. I'm only about to start running ads now myself, literally this month, which I'm excited for me personally. But I've been doing organic now for ages. And now I'm ready for the next stage. So it depends on what part of the journey you're on. And then a follow-on to this is running conversion events. So these type of events you could run like a few times a year. So now you've got the attention, now you've got the audience, you've given value. Now you can run things like challenges, like 3-day, 5-day, 7-day, 30-day challenges. You could run like health challenges, business accelerator challenges, transformation challenges. I don't know, there's so many different forms of challenges that you could run. Live events, masterclasses, webinars, where the intention of that is the ones that are interested, you then can position them to work with you on like more of like a one-to-one basis as an example. So conversion events are really powerful. But one thing I would say, I'm confident that this training you've gained value from this, right? Whereas I've been on some events, especially in America, where it's like, I've just sat through an hour call and I'm like, I haven't actually gained any value. The whole thing was just a sales pitch. The whole entire thing. And I think that's where people are going wrong with events now, is not given any value and only focus on selling. And yes, it can work, but I think the world's going another way. People are fed up of that type of stuff now because it's so overdone. So do the opposite. Genuinely give value, make an impact. My goal is that people go away from this training, implement even one thing I shared and get results from it. Amazing. Then I've helped people transform. So sales, step 7 out of 8. So now you've obviously got your offer, you've got your audience. Obviously now sales is a massive part of a business. Without any sales, you have no business. You've got things like Wolf of Wall Street, great film. You know, you've got the typical sleazy salesman, right? These are the mindset reframes that so many people have about sales. They'll sell ice to an Eskimo. How many times have you heard that before? Well, how can you, Eskimos don't need ice. So it's like, why sell them ice? Do you know what I mean? They don't need it. They don't need it. They don't want it. Sleazy, maybe manipulative, I've heard a lot of times. Don't trust people that sell. They're pushy, etc. Right? I understand that there are some people in sales that are like that. However, that may be holding you back from closing deals. That may be holding you back from going on a quote-unquote sales call with somebody because you don't want to be perceived as what you may think somebody in sales is like. So now you avoid sales because of that. But I want to share something with you which has changed my life in sales. Because when I first started in Magaluf boat parties, all I cared about was making money. And making money, having a good time in the sun. But now, in the journey of becoming a coach, going on this journey, I just want to help people. And ultimately, the more you can sell, the more you get to help. So if you're someone that's overthinking about sales, just remember, if you've got something that can genuinely change somebody's life, then you're helping them by selling. Because this is the thing, and I'm sure everyone will experience this. That even this tonight, this is free, right? This event. When things are free, like on YouTube, there's so much information on YouTube. All the information's there, but there's so many people that are watching YouTube that are taking no action. They're not implementing anything. They're not doing the work. They're not doing the mindset work because they haven't put any money into it. There's no skin in the game. Once someone puts skin in the game, like me when I did that $20,000 investment, that was out of my comfort zone. So then I went all in because of that investment. So when you put money into it, it makes you go all in. And it's the same with your clients. When you have clients that are paying you, they're going to show up way differently than if you were giving it to them for free. Because when you give people it for free, they don't take it as seriously. And when they don't take it as seriously, they're not going to get as good results. So actually, charging high ticket, you're giving them a service. I can remember when I was charging £20 a month when I first started my membership, to then charging thousands for my mentorship. The difference of results that I was getting, I had a client called Leif when I was a sales coach. He tripled his sales within a week. Whereas on my membership, people were just kept leaving. They weren't showing up to calls. They weren't taking any action. They weren't getting any results. So why were they going to pay £20 a month? People like to get rid of their subscriptions. So people will only invest and pay and do the work if there's skin in the game mentally for them, right? So remember, selling is helping. The traditional way of selling, cold DMing, I used to do that all the time and I hated it. Constantly cold DMing people, constant calls with people that wasn't taking me seriously, constantly hustling. I was hustling all day, every day. I didn't have a life. I was sacrificing my health. I was sacrificing my relationships. I wasn't having any fun anymore. I was just sat in an office, in a room, hustling, because that's what I thought I needed to do. I wasn't really ever a convincing and pushy person, but I know a lot of people out there are convincing people so hard to work with them. It's a desperate energy. It's like, if you're on a call, have you ever been on a sales call with someone before and you're like, I think you need it more than I do from the energy, right? It's an energy. You want to be on a call and it's like, no, it's the other way round, right? If they don't move forward, cool. But for them, you want to make sure that they're actually all in, otherwise it's not worth your time. So the freedom first way is having warm DMs, and you do that by creating your trust content, like I shared earlier, like your YouTube content, like podcasting, like consistently showing up on short form content, right? So then when they're on a call with you, they're a lot warmer because they trust you compared to thinking, what are you trying to sell me on air, right? You're having warm calls with people, right, rather than cold ones. You make your calls more exclusive, like Rolex, isn't it? It's a Rolex watch, right? It's an exclusive opportunity. Like some people don't even do calls. It's at a point now, I know Magnus, you're not selling without calls anymore, right? You don't actually need to do sales calls anymore, which is amazing. You can almost be like, the exclusivity is the mentorship. That's what I put my time and energy into calls rather than being on sales calls. So you can just create exclusivity. The Freedom First way is all about working smart, attracting over pushing, and let the clients convince you to work with you rather than you trying to convince them. Because if you convince someone so hard, they're probably going to have buyer's remorse and then they'll probably cancel or there'll be an absolute headache. Like you want to work with people, like you want to build your tribe of people, not from the focus of I just want to make money, I just want to make money. No, I want to build my tribe, I want to make a massive impact. And the final step, and actually out of everything, this is the most important thing if you want longevity with your business, is your delivery. I believe the real sell actually starts now. Because remember, there is 14-day money-back guarantees. And ultimately, if you don't deliver a good service, especially at the start as well, like you want to make sure you set expectations, you have a good onboarding process, because otherwise they might get fear in the way. Their wife or their mum or their dad are like, what are you doing investing that money into that? So you want to make sure that your service is world class. Because when your service is world class, you're going to increase your client lifetime value, because in the future, they're going to continue maybe working with you one-to-one, or they might, if you run a retreat, they're more likely to come because they had such a good service. Whereas if you don't give them a good service, they probably won't go to your retreat or your events. So focusing on this is going to actually make you more money. Not only that, you're going to then generate referrals, right? Because they had such a good service, they're going to tell their friends or their family or someone that they meet at a spa, oh, I know someone that could help you with that, because you've given them an amazing service. When you give them a good service, you're more likely going to get them good results. And when you get them good results, you're going to get better reviews and you're going to get more credibility. And this is the thing, your clients, they become your marketing, right? Because you can use them testimonials, social media content, in your emails. You could run ads to your testimonials. But you're only going to get testimonials if you focus on that. And then over time, you want to optimize. So one thing I do is survey my clients. So ask for feedback to find out how I can make the service better. Is there anything missing? Is there anything I can add? Is there anything you want to know more about? So then you can optimize your service and delivery to keep making it better and better and better. And as well, you get good karma, right? If you're actually genuinely doing an amazing service and you're getting good results, then I believe in karma. I believe in energy. The more good you give out, the more good you're going to get in return. So that's the 8 steps, and one add-on to this is leverage and partnerships. I've got a question for all of you. I'll give you some context and I'll ask you the question. So with my mentorship that I run now, I realized that social media, actual Instagram, isn't my strongest point. I get it, I'm consistent, I do it. However, it's not my specialty. Like creating social media content, creating storytelling content, building my brand isn't my specialty. So I partnered with Chris, who was he come to me for sales help, actually. He's from the Creator Club. And I ended up working with him. And within 3 months, he had no offer, never done sales before. And he onboarded 8 one-to-one clients within 90 days of working together. And I realized the reason being was because he had a good personal brand that he was growing. He's amazing at storytelling. So we've partnered now. So anyone I work with, he mentors them as well and helps them with their content creation, helps them with their brand so they can grow their audience and attract more clients to them. And I've also partnered with my beautiful girlfriend, Ellie. So any female clients that I work with now, Ellie works with them and helps them with their holistic health, with their wellness, with their hormones. Because a lot of women in business don't realize that, well, they know that they have hormones and cycles, but there's certain times of the month, I know most people when they're a men, but I'm sure you can resonate with your partners, there's certain times of the month where they may be a bit different than others. They go through a cycle, 4 personalities. But funny enough, they can actually leverage that to their advantage, and Ellie helps the female client strategically plan their month so that they can create content at certain times of the month. They could, if they were to do a launch, do it then. If they wanted to just chill out and edit, do it at this time of the month. right? So Ellie helps them with that. That's not my specialty. I've learned a lot from Ellie, but that's why I partnered with both Ellie and Chris to make my offer and mentorship better. And going back to this, I can give a better service now because I can get people better results because I'm leveraging partnerships. So my question to all of you, whether you've got an offer or whether you want to start an offer, who can you get involved? And they don't need to be equity and business partners, but partnerships. Like who else could you involve with your mentorship? And even let's say you're in health, you could maybe partner with like, I don't know, what's it called? Like when they inject your blood and they do like biohacking and all that type of stuff, right? You could partner with businesses like that will, all of your clients get like a full-on health scan and blood tests, right? So you could be partnering with other businesses as well. But is there anyone that you could partner with that you know that have skills, abilities and knowledge that could really help your clients to then join forces and make your business even better? But that's everything. I'm very grateful for all of you. So blessed for doing this. I've loved doing this. I find it so fun to just share my journey because I've gone through so many challenges, setbacks, and I've got clear on what they are. So now I'm able to now share and create content